British writer C.S. Lewis had his own posse called the Inklings at Oxford. And the Inklings certainly influenced Lewis's most popular fantasy books, the Chronicles of Narnia, not to mention his books on Christian theology, like the Screwtape Letters. The Inklings were formed in the early 1930s. An undergrad student at Oxford wanted to form a literary club and invited Lewis and his buddy, John Ronald Reuel Tolkien, to be a part of it. Lewis and Tolkien taught at Oxford, and the students thought they'd give the group some cred. They did, but in 1933 the original group had disbanded, with the exception of Lewis and Tolkien. So Lewis took over the Inklings and started having meetings in his room in Magdalen College. The Inklings weren't a formal society. They were more of an exclusive collection of friends. It almost goes without saying that they were all dudes. They were writers who tended to be interested in mythology and fantasy, and they were one dungeon master away from a pretty killer D&D campaign. The Inklings were all affiliated with Oxford University, and they were all interested in Christianity. Tolkien, for instance, was a staunch Roman Catholic, while Lewis was a member of the Church of England. Sometimes the Inklings were called the Oxford Christians, and for the most part, they were pretty conservative. They didn't really care for modern art and literature. The gang met every Thursday evening at Lewis's place. They'd get out their pipes because, of course, there are pipes at a to-do like that. Everybody more or less looked like Sherlock Holmes. Someone would pour some tea or something a little stronger, and then they'd read each other's manuscripts aloud and talk about them. They were essentially a writer's workshop, and Lewis was the unofficial leader of the group. His fellow Inklings included the writers Charles Williams and Owen Barfield, who aren't very famous, and J.R.R. Tolkien, who is, on account of writing The Lord of the Rings. Lewis's beloved older brother Warren was also part of the gang, though he was better known for his hosting duties than his literary contributions. The Inklings would also meet at a now famous pub in Oxford called the Eagle and Child. It was sometimes also called the Bird and the Baby, or just the Bird. During his time with the Inklings, Lewis helped his fellow writers, like Tolkien, grow, and he developed his own fiction writing voice as well. The frank, honest critiques his Inkling buddies gave his work made it better. The Inklings gradually petered out as its members got older, and by the time Lewis died in 1963, the group was done. But from the early 1930s to the late 1940s, C.S. Lewis's place was the literary hang for English fantasy writers, and Lewis was at the center of it all.